freedom is coming. Our attention as Kenya Kwanza Alliance has been called to the press release by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Committee through this formal statement, which you shall eventually get from the media team here. The statement is very simple but detailed. You will not subvert the sovereignty of Kenya. Freedom is coming. Our attention as Kenya Kwanza Alliance has been called to the press release by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, through its chairman, Mr. Wafula Chebukati, issued in Nairobi yesterday, the 21st of July, 2022. This statement raises a most grave and fundamental concern on sinister efforts by the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta and its Azimio la Umoja Kenya, One Kenya project to subvert the 2022 general elections, now only 18 days away. IEBC has disclosed that the Kenyan state has arbitrarily arrested and detained in an unknown location or locations 3 personnel affiliated to the Commission ahead of next month's elections. IEBC has disclosed further that the 3 are employees of Smartmatic International BV, a firm that has been formally retained to be responsible for deployment and management of election technology infrastructure. They were arrested at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport upon arriving in the country from Venezuela and being holders of legitimate and valid contracts with the electoral authority to undertake their assignment. It bears emphasizing that their role is both sensitive and key to the delivery of a democratic, free, and fair general election. Official pleas by IEBC to have the officials released have so far fallen on deaf ears. Among other things, their sustained incarceration is interfering with the pace of activities at IEBC with the elections. It has now come to our knowledge, however, that they have since been released, and their phones, which were confiscated, have been returned to them. However, we don't know whether those phones have been interfered with. Nonetheless, their unlawful detention raises fundamental questions about the outgoing government's commitment to midwife a free, fair, and democratic election. We dare put these questions straight to the outgoing president, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. Mr. President, how loyal are you and your government to the Constitution of Kenya, and specifically to a democratic, free, and fair election? How loyal are you to protecting and defending the Constitution of Kenya, which by oath of office you are bound to protect? What comes first, your loyalty to the Constitution of Kenya or to the caprices of a political association? Moreover, this dastardly arrest of election personnel reminds us of the tragic disappearance and macabre killing of another election official, Mr. Chris Musando. 5 years ago, almost to the very day, we all recall that Mr. Musando was the head of ICT at IEBC in 2017. We recall how only a few days to the elections, he was found dead in the bush on the outskirts of Nairobi. His badly mutilated body showed that he had been tortured and subjected to untold pain before being killed. Is a similar scheme at work again ahead of this year's voting. For some time, of an amorphous system, they have boasted in public that the two, that is the deep state and the system, will deliver electoral victory to them. They have also boasted in the open not about how the people are with them, but rather about how they will employ state office, power, and machinery to win the election. Is this intimidation of election officials part of what they have been cynically talking about? Is President Uhuru Kenyatta happy that he is managing his Azimio project democratically through arbitrary arrests, harassment, and intimidation of election officials? How much faith should Kenyans have in their departing president's commitment to a democratic poll and to a smooth transition? The question that must be answered is this: what do these people want from the elections ICT personnel? The answer is simple. They want to invade the election technology and to compromise its integrity for the benefit of the Azimio project. We all know how they have been insisting on using manual registers for these elections, having sensed imminent defeat. They now want to go the Musando way, through forcing out of ICT officials information that would enable them to beat the computer firewalls. We must call them out on this. The elections must not be tampered with. The Azimio project must be defeated as it will be defeated. And President Uhuru must prepare to go home with his wicked project. The President is of course on record as stating in public that he is, and this is in his own words, not going anywhere. When people tell him to finish and go home, he further retorts, "I am here to stay." The Constitution of Kenya is clear on this matter. However, Article 142, subsection 2 asserts, "A person shall not hold office as president for more than 2 terms." And Article 2, subsection 2 states, "No person may claim or exercise state authority except as authorized under this Constitution." And Article 3, subsection 2 states with finality, any attempt to establish a government otherwise than in compliance with the Constitution is unlawful. Whether President Uhuru Kenyatta schemes to stay on in another guise after the expiry of his term, exercising state authority, or whether he purposes to intimidate election officials to give electoral victory to his Azimio project, he is clearly in breach of the Constitution. The President is proving to be the one foremost impediment to a democratic, free, and fair election. We urge him to respect the sovereignty and supremacy of the people and the sanctity of their will as expressed through democratic elections. He should now step out of the way and allow the Constitution and the people to prevail. We also urge the President and his cabinet to distance themselves from other and publicizing of falsified opinion polls on the forthcoming elections. These cynical polls are intended to demoralize voters who are of a contrary persuasion. They are also intended as a curtain raiser to other electoral malpractices. Theft, and I want to really emphasize this, theft of an election by the government is theft that is the worst of any crimes that people can commit. It is theft of their sovereignty. And when someone has stolen the people's government and their will, he is ready to commit every other crime in the world. We urge the President to distance himself from these acts. We urge him to try to salvage his government's reputation by respecting the Constitution and the people in these last moments of his regime. To state officers who have allowed themselves to be used to breach the Constitution and election laws, we remind you that best practices from elsewhere have shown that in the end you will be held personally responsible for any breaches. Such is the fate of those who breached the American law in the January 6, 2021 incident. Today, they are facing the music without the Grand Master who encouraged or bullied to break the law. Good. Let me remind them, your own day will come when you'll be on your own. Our law is clear on that. We have previously called for protection of elections officials at all levels, including service providers, as well as their equipment and materials. We restate this call. Even without being elections officials, the state owes them duty of care as citizens or as visitors in our space. As election officials, however, they impose extra premium of duty of care on the state. There can be no compromise on this. On its part, the Iebc must reassure Kenyans on the safety of all election materials, including its handling and distribution. Finally, to the people of Kenya, please do not be cowed or feel frustrated. We are only going through the darkest hour that must come before dawn. Freedom is coming. Be patient. Avoid any provocation to violence. Avoid any other breaches of the law. Prepare to come out in large numbers to vote. Kenyans must and will defeat the sinister schemes of the Azimio project and its equally sinister leadership. It shall not be long before the will of people prevails. Tumejipanga and freedom is coming. Asanteni sana. Now my colleagues will help me after that long statement.
Thank you, Honorable Mudavadi. Fellow Kenyans, you're fully aware that the most poorly guarded secret in this country today is the attempts by the outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta to clone himself and remain on the scene wearing the facade called Azimio. We know that the people of Kenya will not allow him to do that. But in doing so, they are employing state agencies in all forms and manifestations to subvert the process of delivery of a free and fair election. To Iebc, we urge you to remain steadfast, don't act in fear, don't fear to act to deliver a credible election to the people of Kenya. Attempts by various agencies, including but not limited to the security apparatus in this country, have been a daily occurrence. But the worst is when the state wants to frighten away Iebc contractors that are so key and critical in the delivery of a free, fair, credible, and verifiable election. We in Kenya Kwanza are confident that Kenyans are with us, and Kenyans will vote with us to deliver freedom and economic emancipation for the people of Kenya from state capture that is now roaming on our country like a colossus. We want to urge Kenyans to be eternally vigilant, especially the maneuvers by certain government officials and ministers responsible for issues that are related to election infrastructure. The Minister for ICT, we are watching you. The Minister for Security, we are watching you. Those responsible for other security operations, we are watching you. And we are not watching you as participants in the elections, but as the people of Kenya from every corner, to ensure that your cheeky maneuvers to subvert the will of the people of Kenya shall and will not succeed, because Kenyans have made up their mind. Kenyans are decided, Kenyans are ready, and Kenyans are going to vote decisively to tell President Uhuru Kenyatta that time is up and you will not be allowed to create a puppet and a stooge to take over the reins of from you, so that you can continue pressing backroom buttons to run this country, knowing very well that you are leaving this country worse than you found it. Thank you.
Nafikiri the statement is very, very clear. Na mumeona yale yanatendeka katika nchi yetu. Wafadhili na wenye Azimio project wakiongozwa na Rais Uhuru Kenyatta walianza na BBI ili kuweke katika serikalini. BBI was a plan to extend the shelf life of President Kenyatta, contrary to the Constitution. After the collapse of the BBI, and because the numbers are not on their side, the people of Kenya with Kenya Kwanza, they started the story of the manual register, which again the election laws are very clear at what stage and at what moment the Commission will employ a complementary mechanism. When the manual register has failed, and in their panic mood and desperation, you are aware they started profiling the staff of Iebc ethnically and regionally. They started profiling. Now they have gone further and started profiling the stakeholders, the contractors, and the staff of Iebc by intimidating them, threatening them, arresting them, confiscating their gadgets, including telephones and computer and laptops, in order to access crucial information relevant to the technology that is going to be deployed for use in the coming election. Branding contractors as terrorists and frog-marching them to the ATPU. This is not what the Constitution of Kenya and the Bill of Rights and the election laws anticipate at this hour. Mr. President, you have 18 days to go. Iebc must be very firm, and Iebc must speak to the people of Kenya and assure the citizens and the Kenya Kwanza leadership in particular on the safety and security of all the materials that are in their custody for use by our citizens in the coming general election. Iebc does not vote. Iebc's function in the Constitution and in the Election Act and in their own act is to manage the process of a free, fair, transparent, and peaceful election. We are seeing a system where now, in their desperation, that Azimio is going to lose the election, and they will lose the election. The numbers are not adding up. There's a scheme to cause chaos, use state apparatus, arrest, and we are watching them, and we are telling the international community, the observer missions, the EU, the African Union, they must all, and the citizens must all come to stand and protect Iebc. We, the Kenya Kwanza team, led by William Samoei Ruto, we have campaigned, we have sold our agenda and our manifesto. We are sure of winning this election. And we want a peaceful, transparent, credible elections to be conducted by Iebc in the next 18 days. So we are telling President Kenyatta and his project, the Azimio, that in your desperation, do not circumvent the Constitution. And all observer missions must take note of that. That there is a scheme to disrupt elections. There is a scheme to manipulate elections. There is a scheme to harass and intimidate not only Kenyan electoral officials and staff, but even foreigners who have been contracted to conduct this election. So we are calling them to order, that we are aware of your scheme. We are aware of even where you have established in private buildings a backroom Iebc sort of transmission center. We will be talking to the country in due course and tell you where the Minister for ICT and his cohorts is aware where you are putting up a similar, contrary to the law. The law says there will be no text in transmission of elections. Therefore, so Mr. Kenyatta and your project, please, they must assure the country on the safety and security of the of all materials, including all that are in place, so that Kenyans can exercise their sovereignty to elect a free government. That is what leaders of Kenya Kwanza have said. It was wrong for the state to go ahead and intimidate an independent electoral commission, that the Constitution has provided all the powers to conduct this election as it wishes. We do stand with IEBC in maintaining and retaining holes of theft that has been used in the past, and to assure Kenyans and work with Kenyans that the election that is going to be coming in 17 days from now is going to be free and fair. As Kenya Kwanza, we are prepared. We are prepared for this election. We are prepared to protect the vote. No one should not doubt our preparedness. We are ready for that election, for we know that we are going to win it. We will be able to we will continue to be watchful. We will be listening. We will be telling it out to the public, and we also want the Kenyans to be very vigilant on whatever happens out there, because we want to help the Electoral Commission and the people of Kenya to be able to exercise their democratic right on the 9th of August and be able to vote the leaders of their choice and make sure that we have a new government that will continue beyond the current government that is finishing its term. So it is critical for the outgoing government to be ready to leave office, to do the needful that the Constitution requires of it, provide support to IEBC to make sure that security is provided and that the technology and that the airwaves transmit the results of election are done in consultation with the IEBC. And those officers of the state who want to do shenanigan issues, they should be warned. But I want to finally urge Kenyans that they should look forward to vote. The only way you can be able to enable a democratic government that can be able to execute your agenda is to exercise your voting power on the 9th of August. We as Kenya Kwanza have that agenda ready. We have a leadership that is committed and that is ready to begin working on day one. I thank you.
Excellent.
I'd like to address this directly to the women who support Kenya Kwanza and who support, of course, the political discourse that is going on, that in circumstances like these ones, women are bound to fear and be filled with fear and be afraid to turn up to vote. It's extremely important that we recognize that these elections are very important for us as women because it gives us an opportunity to be able to bring to the light or to the fore those things that are important to us. They've been addressed in the Women's Charter that was signed by Honorable William Samoei Ruto with the women of this country. So ours is also just to urge women that these circumstances and whatever is being said on social media and all other outlets should not make us fear to turn up for on polling day. And if anything, our vigilance should stretch all the way to the ward and village level so that we do turn up to vote on that day. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you will get the statement, so it will be okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
My name is Vincent Oduor from NTV. I'd like to know, from the point of view of Kenya Kwanza, are you comfortable with the idea of election materials being carried in someone's personal luggage?
We have addressed that question right here by saying that on the part of IEBC, we expect them to ensure all materials, equipment are properly handled and also distributed properly to the various stations that are designated as election stations.
Yes.
My name is Edwin Mwangi from Capital FM. According to the IG, Mutembei, is that the reason why they arrested the 3 foreigners is because they had breached the security protocol. And the question was that election stakeholders, which include political parties, were not aware that election materials had landed in the country. So as Kenya Kwanza, are you comfortable that security protocol is being breached in terms of delivering election?
To be honest, what security issues were breached?
The 3 foreigners were not even accompanied by...
No, there's no law that says that the officials coming to Kenya need to have been accompanied by an IEBC official. Which law are you quoting? There's no...
It calls for transparency.
No, it calls for transparency, but there's no law that has been breached. After all, when they were there, IEBC officials were there, and they clarified to them that these people are contractors of IEBC. But they disregarded that and still took away those people.
They say it was done last minute.
Not only that, good lady, if they break the law, then the IG is out of order for releasing people who have breached the law. When people break the law, you prosecute them. They arrested them. They did not lock them up at the airport, as meaning they were being treated as terrorists. They have since been released without charge, and the police are saying they breached no law.
I think there's nowhere in law that political parties play a role in the management of elections. Political parties were not there when ballot papers were received. Did you see any political party representation? Let me finish. So it is a function of IEBC. Even the trip that political parties were to go to Greece, it's unnecessary. It was just out of goodwill, and they are those who will pay for their ticket. So there's no law. The people who should be at the airport to receive and manage election materials is IEBC, the CEO and his staff and the chair and his commission. So there's nowhere you breach, you talk of a security breach just because Kenya Kwanza was not there. But and there were not 3 people, for your information. The person who was arrested was only 1. His 2 other colleagues went. They were in Nairobi. They went to go and explain the situation to him. They were there to receive him. So even the information you have is not correct. So the only person who came to the airport with the material was 1 person.
I think I can add.
And those questions you can put to the IG. But this is a country of laws, as Honorable Wetangula has said, as senior counsel. Every breach must be based on certain piece of law, which you must quote.
I think I can explain. And I think just in addition to that, there are mechanisms in which that are established under the regulations of IEBC, that IEBC can engage with the political parties. Just 2 days ago, I represented UDA at the IEBC Center at Bomas, where they simulated the result transmission system. Those are the assurances that we need. It's a formal engagement. Just yesterday, I spent the morning together with the other representatives of UDA and the representatives of Azimio, and confirmed the process in which they are loading the KIMS kit with the electronic register, they are loading the application and the result transmission system. So yes, if we want any assurance, it's not by intercepting IEBC officials at the airport. Even now, we are still expecting that IEBC will hold the next meeting with us and explain to us what assurances they have. And remember, when it comes to delivery of ballot boxes, we are entitled as those political parties to get a packing list. If it is the barcodes that were seen at the airport, we are entitled to ask for a dispatch list at the time closer to the election. So we still can have, as long as those safeguards exist, I think we can be safe. But what we are appealing is for IEBC to be given an opportunity to do their work without being harassed.
Excellent. Can we end
We're
there?
done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. through this formal statement, which you shall eventually get from the media team here. The statement is very simple but detailed. You will not subvert the sovereignty of Kenya. Freedom is coming. Our attention as